Avanti popolo alla riscossa, bandiera rossa, bandiera rossa.
Yo, yo, can you hear me? Hello. One moment.
You might have to turn me up. I'm a little quiet.
No worries. Just give me 1 second. This thing is always awkward because it is live. Exceptionally. Okay. You guys can hear Freda. Yes, everyone can hear Freda.
Very good, very good.
Rid view. Like this. I will move you to be like this.
You didn't tell me this was like the first time. You should have gotten like an actually good guest.
You are literally the fucking best, bro. I hate modesty. Modesty freaks me the fuck out.
Okay, I'll try to. I'll do better. I'll do better.
Absolutely. Chat. How do I remove the chat? I want to only see Freda. I want only Freda. Freda for life. No
Yeah,
chat.
I also can't help you with this. This is like technology. It's...
Dude, streaming is insane. Like the use.
Yeah,
of
I have no idea
OBS.
how you like do this stuff like live and everything.
I have no idea either. I just wing it, and all
yeah.
of chat calls me an uncle and an old man. And
Oh, they call me that too. Yeah.
yeah, classic. Are you an unk though?
I mean,
Do you are you in that period of your life when you're starting to consider
I
yourself
turned
an unk?
30 this year, so
Wow.
I feel like I don't know. Does that count?
It does. That is
Okay. Yeah.
that is unk.
Oh, there we go. Now I think I might have actually. There we go. Okay.
Fantastic. Okay. I got you, brother. I got you. Hello, everyone. And yes, I might have done interviews before, but this is the real deal. Welcome to the most original podcast in the world. It's called Yugo's Podcast, and it is a podcast, but it's live. For our first guest, we have a renowned historian and gamer, Freda, in the motherfucking house. Please chat. Everyone, welcome them. Freda, thank you so much for coming on, finding the time. I've been a massive fan throughout what at this point feels like years. How you doing, and why are you here and not playing either the Oblivion remaster or Kingdom Come Delivery 2? Because I am 180 hours in and I am yet to finish it.
I have not finished Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 either. Okay, so first of all, thank you. I'm doing great. I just had some bolognese, and I'm also a little bit hungover, like you.
A fellow man of culture, I see. Haha.
I went out with some friends, or to some friends' place yesterday. Yeah. So, a few beers. But what was the rest of the question? I immediately forgot.
Oh, why are you not playing? So
Why
you
am I
haven't
here?
finished. You
Oh.
haven't finished Kingdom Come.
No, I got like it's Rate, right? I started playing it around release.
Yeah.
And then started doing some like the Rate stuff. I've gotten, I don't want to spoil anything for anyone, but I don't think I played 180 hours. Was that how much you played?
Yes, my PlayStation
Holy
5
shit.
says that I am 180 hours in. And I do believe that at this point in the second area of the game, which at this point I believe everyone knows about, so it's not a
Yeah.
major spoiler. I think I've
big
actually
area.
done 100% of the side quests,
Oh.
and I am like continuously postponing finishing it, because when you finish particularly a single player game, you kind of can never replay it in the same way you experienced it the first time. So at this point I got a perk where you can see every single interesting location on the map, so I'm
Oh, yeah,
basically
yeah.
just riding around on my OP horse in my OP armor trying to just like milk every inch of content out of it. Are you more like, when you play that goes for you, chat, as well, are you more of a person that fully dedicates themselves as like literally a project when you play a particular game, or you're constantly jumping in between and you have like 7 million things in your Steam library? Because if you're the latter, I don't like you.
So it depends. I tend to mostly play one game at a time, because like if I jump too much, I'm just gonna forget whatever I'm doing or get like lose focus or whatever. I do that with videos as well when I make them. Like when I make like start writing a script or something. If I get a little bit bored and I'm like, let me just work on this other one.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna come back to the other one for months.
I feel
Like
you. I feel
Yeah.
you. I have
It's the
this
same thing.
yeah, I have this eternal problem though of uh, not being able to actually think of an idea for a video.
Yeah.
Like 90% of my process of creating a video, like time wise, is trying to figure out what the fuck I want to make it on. And
Yeah.
there's this, I don't know if you feel it sometimes, there's this eternal drive in you that just tells you, just redo a thing somebody else did, but with a
Hmm.
small spin just to get something out. But then I quiet those voices because it's, I don't know. It
Yeah. It's
feels
like,
lazy to me. I don't know. It feels like you
yeah.
become like just like a content guy, which is
Yeah,
fucking
literally. Yeah.
disgusting.
It's like, that's just content for the sake of content. I mean, you do have to, because like it is a, you know, it is how you pay the bills and stuff.
Yeah.
And like for me, I for a long time I didn't like know what to do. And because of that, my first couple of months of earnings like for YouTube, not great.
Oh
Like this
God, no.
this year. But now, because obviously the most recent video kind of like exploded a little bit. Um, Now I'm like, all right, I can chill a little bit. I can start to like work on, the I guess the passion projects. Because for me, like the voice that says like you need money, you need to do something easy, tells me to like watch a what if autist video,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
just make
Yeah.
like something based on like a
Yeah.
response video basically.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. This is why response videos are popular to make. Yeah, because it's so easy, and also some of these people they just say insane shit, and it's funny to talk about.
It is. It's like an eternal fountain of youth for your channel because plus it
Yeah.
gets the people that also like fucking hate that fucking idiot, whatever
Yeah.
idiot you're talking about, and it's relatively, of course, easy to make because most of the time their points are so fucking mute that it feels like taking candy from a baby, but like a very racist, evil white
Yeah,
baby.
who's part of like a fascist party sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Though apparently, I don't know if we like want to segue into this, but apparently, Zoomer Historian got kicked out of his fascist party.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah, there
Why?
was some drama. So apparently, I don't know the full story because like I'm not that into the sort of the racist spheres of Twitter
Yeah, you
where I
touch
see
grass.
everything
Yeah,
that's happening. Yeah,
understandable.
exactly.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but from my understanding, he went after someone inside his party who is gay, for being gay, and now
Okay,
there's like a whole schism. So it's like a little long, like Night of the Long Knives, but like for a tiny British fascist party.
that's incredible.
And
He was too principled in his fascism for his own
yes,
fascist party.
yes,
Fantastic.
yeah. So like they're now like I think it's also there's a split because I think the guy who was gay was also Irish and like an
Oh
Irish
my God.
nationalist. Yeah, so like the
Jesus
the
Christ.
British, there's a lot of layers to
DEI
it.
racism, bro. Holy fucking shit.
Yeah.
Let's go. Dude, like, you really shouldn't feel bad if the thing that I cannot say on Twitch happens because like, this is shot after shot. You make like a video that gets hundreds of thousands of views, completely annihilating
Yeah, and
his
then
channel.
it's like,
he gets
yeah.
kicked out of his party. I would say probably going to lose his girlfriend, but I sincerely doubt he has a girlfriend. So if something happens, like don't lose sleep over it. God will not punish you or whatever else.
Yeah,
you
I was
might
like,
believe.
when I first heard about it, I was like, did I do that? But then I started learning more about it. I was like, no, that this is just, this is organic. They did this themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we get into the quote unquote interview proper, just to tell chat to check out Freda. You have the link to their channel pinned at the top of the comment section. That's number one. Number two, all subscriptions, bits, and so on, I'm very grateful for. I will, because of the format of this particular episode, go back and read through every single one of them once the interview is finished, so that I don't, in order to not interrupt the proper interview process, because this is the live podcast. Jesus, I'm going to kill myself just from saying this. And breaking TOS again. The main reason why I told you about the suicide, murder, I'm going to kill them, motherfucker type shit, why you can't say it, because only once, I bring fucking Hakeem to my fucking stream.
Oh,
and
no.
in the first fucking 20 minutes, he literally just starts talking about how he wants to murder this person and this person and this person. And I'm like, thank you for literally taking bread out of my mouth. You've ruined the one thing I enjoy doing, which is streaming. But God bless. Anyways, welcome, Freda. Again, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So you started out your YouTube career with Kaiserreich playthroughs.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Kind of, though, because
had
technically I
one-
started with something.
Yeah.
I started something more embarrassing, but I've hidden those videos.
Really? Because I've seen
Yeah.
that like mining game. I don't know if what it is. Like to me, it's just pixels moving on a fucking thing, and I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna talk about Kaiserreich because I do not care
Yeah,
about.
that's
pixel
something you
mining.
understand. Yeah.
Something I can understand, absolutely. But and I've always been fascinated, with the universe of Kaiserreich, but could never really sit down to play the game properly. So, please do me and chat relative service and nerd out for a bit. What are kind of like the main events that split Kaiserreich's timeline with ours?
Okay, yeah. So I'm not like a massive Kaiserreich like lore like nerd, and the lore also changes all the time. But Kaiserreich is a mod for Hearthstone 4, so it has like some of the like brain rot and problems that Hearthstone 4 has in its community as well. But it portrait artist on Kaiserreich in the chat. But the
awesome.
mod basically diverges from real history, I think. I think it like there are divergences before World War One, but the whole point is like, what if Germany won World War One? So you have like these German colonial and imperial empires and stuff all over the world, like in Southeast Asia, like Vietnam is like not a French colony, it's a German colony, and Germany all over Africa and everything. And otherwise, there's like a lot of ways where they play with history to sort of do, I guess, like mirrors of things that happen in our history. So instead of like a Hitler, they have like a kind of insane Russian guy. They used to have a Russian cavalry officer who had taken over Mongolia and declared himself the Great Khan. But then they decided they were going to be a little bit more serious, and they kind of went a little bit back on that.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
even saw. I wanted to like check it before we streamed, and obviously I didn't get you on here to talk about Kaiserreich, but I think it's a great intro to the bigger topics that we're going to talk about. And I opened, I was like, okay, like, and they have like 1914 and the main like splits on the wiki with our era. And the first one was the Austro-Hungarians did not manage to take Serbia. I'm like, yes, everything revolves around the Balkans. I keep fucking telling everyone we are in every fucking conversation, like every single main plot line of real life, but apparently also alternative to real life. Revolves around us. Thank you very much. You're very, very welcome. Obviously, I tell this to chat all the time. Particular historical catalyst moments do not, depict the real, general, broader reason for why a particular thing happened. And Kaiserreich, by reading through it, it has like 50 events. It doesn't just change, because there's like old history, like fiction, where it's like just one event, and they're like, oh my god, like
exactly.
Like what if Princip missed the Austro-Hungarian? Like what the fuck? Nothing would have changed. But
But also, what's like cool about Kaiserreich is because it's like it's alternate history, and it's also a game. It's trying to be fun. So they have to kind of invent or find history that they can make fun. So, for example, in Hearthstone, if you've ever played it, it's all just like a lead up to World War II, and then the actual like war starts. Before then, you're just kind of building and you're not doing anything. You have the Spanish Civil War, which you can send volunteers to. That's like your first taste of war in the game usually. But otherwise, for most nations, you're kind of just waiting for things. And in Kaiserreich, what they do is they just have many Spanish civil wars. So they have the Spanish Civil War, they have an American Civil War, they have civil wars everywhere basically.
But World War II has to happen.
World War II has to happen.
That's fucking weird, isn't it? Like because
Well, you mean like in Kaiserreich or like
Yeah, in Kaiserreich.
in
No, in general.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
He's kind
No, I mean,
of
you know, it's
sus, bro.
fine,
Kind
just
of
like,
sus.
yeah.
But yeah, specifically,
Yeah.
like the path of history is now so different, relatively so different.
Yeah, but
Even
they
though
still, yeah, but they still go, we still need a world war because it's a world war game. So like what they do there is instead of having the sort of what do you call it, like what Hot Spine has, it has like a democratic bloc, a quote unquote, a communist bloc and a fascist bloc. But instead of that, they have obviously like a red bloc, which is like France and Britain had their socialist revolutions after they lost the war, or during the war, I believe, World War One, and you have the sort of the Kaiserreich, you have the German Empire, in their like EU kind of economic bloc and everything called Mittel Europa. You've got
and their
Asia
political
with
model is
Japan.
what, like Weimar Light or something.
It's like a constitutional monarchy. So it's like I think it's something the emperor is still around and everything, but the actual like parliamentary politics matter quite a bit from what I understand. Now I haven't played Germany a lot in like years in that game because it's not as fun as like other nations.
Yeah,
And
makes
then
sense.
you've got the American Civil War is pretty fucking cool because obviously America just disintegrates into chaos. It's always fun, and there you have the left-wing movements there being like, I think actually the left-wing movements in all of Europe are way more like syndicalist and anarchist and such like that, because you don't have the revolution in Russia succeeding. It fails, so you don't get like this sort of, I guess, consensus about like this is the communism, I guess.
Yeah,
Instead, it ends. Yeah.
This is our communism, but it's also
Yeah.
yours, and you cannot choose different. But yeah, absolutely.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
You don't have the Comintern sort of line and everything. So things are very different. And in America, you have all the bastards coming out the woodwork when the Civil War starts. So Douglas MacArthur, of course, declares himself like dictator, or like sets up a military junta, that kind of stuff. It's very cool. And of course, the British Empire still exists, though they don't have Britain. They got kicked out because of the revolution, so they're in Canada.
Wow, that's really
Yeah,
cool.
and it's also the worst king, like the fucking Edward VIII or whatever, the guy who was like buddy with Hitler. So
name number 5. It's very cool.
Yeah.
Especially like I've listened to a few songs from the game or whatever that are like
Yeah.
inspired by IRL songs, but then adapted to the universe
yeah,
in which
yeah.
it finds itself in, and the different factions over in the US, and then art on potential Balkanized fighting, and the niche ideologies that relatively develop according to the local material conditions that sometimes they do relatively well. You even cover it in one of your videos for with like burgers, petit bourgeois, merchant, different types of merchant
Yeah.
classes, etc., etc. For example, they have higher propensity to very strongly and actively support fascist movements. So it's very cool how they developed the whole thing, and in general, like creating an alternative history timeline, both in fiction or as just a fun pastime, is such an ungrateful task because it's mostly all guesswork, informed guesswork, but still guesswork. That's why some seemingly innocent bad actors,
yes.
like my favorite fucking schizo that you already mentioned of
yeah.
all fucking time, What If Alt Hist, use it to drive all sorts of political agendas through their narratives. So can you drive us through how does that happen, and what should people look out for?
So one of the authors in the video where I talk about like video games as history talks about how alternate history, in a sense, is also history, because every time you're saying this is alternate history, you're saying this is the opposite or different from what actually happened. You're asserting something about the truth, or about real history, such as we know it. And because of that, every time a alt history guy is like creating a fake narrative, you can very easily say, this fake narrative, it's just made up. I'm just saying things. It's not harmful at all. But they are operating in accordance with their understanding of history, their understanding of like the laws of history, often, very different, being very different from the understanding that you or I might have.
Yeah.
And when they're doing so, even if they're not explicitly or being very clear or explicit when they're talking about these things that are different, how they're different, everything, they are still kind of making people think, along these lines, along these laws of history. So that's one aspect that comes into the narrative. And then, of course, every alternate history video on YouTube tends to begin with the actual history as well. And that is like the part where they can be very explicit about their ideology being sort of pushed into this.
But do you think you managed to? Sorry for interrupting you. Do you think because you're a historian, or maybe some people in chat because you look at things from the material lens, you're progressives, you're socialists, you're anarchists, etc., etc. So do you think that you managed to spot the kind of narrative that's trying to be played because you're a historian or because you're politically progressive, etc., because you've interacted with all manners of right-wing propaganda online? So is it because of your education level or your political background, or do you think that most people have the ability to smell that something is off when they're consuming this sort of stuff for fun, but indirectly getting propagandized into believing something that might, not make a lot of sense?
I don't think it's something that everyone can do as well. It's definitely something that needs training or oh yeah, yes, you're putting my avatar on my
There you go.
Thank you. Yep. You need like some level of like understanding to know that something is bullshit. If you don't have like enough info already, it's going to be really hard to tell who is lying to you. And that's one of the big problems with a lot of these YouTube videos. They are angled or geared towards often children or young people. And you don't need like special training, but you need to like have experienced the bullshit and seen that people are bullshitting before you can often spot other people who are bullshitting.
Yeah.
You often get fooled once and then you realize you've been fooled and then, you learn from it. And that is a thing that I don't think a lot of people are equipped to deal with, specifically, or especially when you're talking about history that they're not familiar with. So a lot of these guys, they tend to talk about like obscure topics and stuff because they run out of ideas because they make these videos very quickly.
Yeah.
And you start talking about like some historical figure, you might say a few things that are true, and then they might say a few things that aren't true. You're not going to really, unless you're paying a lot of attention and know what they're talking about, you're not going to be able to catch them on it.
And some do it really smart. They do it like very camouflaged. Idiots do it very directly. Like, what if Hitler won? It would have, and then they say it would have been fucking awesome. We love Hitler.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But that's what the dumb guys do. But the smarter, how smart can you be as a fascist? But you get my point.
Well, yeah.
Smarter ones manage to camouflage it a lot more.
Yeah, more thought out fascists, I guess. They often I can kind of tell that someone is like bullshitting based not on me seeing something they're saying that's wrong, but
just
seeing
vibes.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, it is like their approach is wrong. So because I don't know everything, no historian knows everything. Historians generally often, and me especially, do not remember things. We open up books and look at what the books say, and then we forget it, and then we look at it again. That's why we cite stuff and stuff, so we can find it again.
That's why ChatGPT is really good, and it's gonna
yes, exactly. Yeah,
phenomenal.
Great impact on the intellectual tradition. But yeah, so the way I do it, I guess, is that I tend to spot their approach, because they might say that like, oh yeah, Hitler wouldn't have done this. Let's say that, like, take an extreme. And then I'm like, how the fuck would you know that? Then I start to smell that something's wrong, right?
Yeah.
Or I can't think of like any other examples, but yeah, it's like I start to feel the vibes are bad.
Yeah.
basically.
Or like you can phrase it differently so that you appear as a more of an astute academic instead of just a vibe checker. You can be like, I always ask for a sauce, please. So like
Yes,
Hitler would have done this, sauce, please. But dude, we're talking about alternate history, source, please. Because as you beautifully put it, that is something that I think that I am learning, in 4K IRL right now. So when you're designing alternate history, you have to base it on some sort of presupposition that comes from real history. So in a very ironic way, you can say sources, please, on why you think that Hitler would have done that. Is that correct?
Exactly, yes. You can like I made a alternate history video once, just as like a one-off thing.
God bless.
Because I was told when I criticized alternate history guys on YouTube, and I was like told by all these guys, they're like, well, why don't you do better? So I was like, okay, I'll try. The video is kind of dog shit, honestly, but what I do in it is that I actually cite sources even like in the video. Yeah, it's the Korea one. Someone in this chat mentioned, People's Republic of Korea. Like, and the whole thing there is like, okay, what if FDR didn't die? Stalin and FDR kept up the relationship, and America didn't get involved in Korea.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, because of course, a lot of things that like a lot of the Korean War was predicated on American involvement, of course, Soviet involvement as well. But I do think that I would like to say at least that the Americans were a little bit more meddly, so to say.
I mean, completely annihilating every single speck of infrastructure of the entire country, turning it into literally a barren death field.
Flattening the entire North.
It's a bit of an inconvenience, Yes. One would think that it would cause such a massive trauma that even half a century later cannot be
exactly like
depicts itself in the particular manners through which the state organizes in the country.
And not just that, like it also of course is the sort of the beginning of the siege mentality, which like you have this incredibly dangerous enemy right on your border, like you have to find a way to sort of deal with this. That like starts immediately following the war.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. What happened?
But
continue, please.
No, I was just gonna say I remember kind of a digression, but I remember getting a lot of heat on Twitter once. I've been community noted once, I believe, and it was because I was trying to explain.
Which slur?
No.
Oh, come on, you're in a friendly environment. You can tell us.
Yeah. It's just us, just between two friends. The thing was, I was talking about the Korean War, and I was trying to like impress on people how like fighting did not begin when North Korea invaded South Korea, because fighting had already been going on for months. Yeah. And the community note was the Korean War began when North Korea invaded in like this date, right?
Yeah.
But I think people do not know how like fighting was going on across the border. Like there were incursions into the north, into villages, people being killed like north and south of the border by the militaries of either side. And of course, in the south, like I think 300,000 people had been killed before the war even began in anti-communist purges.
Yeah, but we don't count that because reasons. Absolutely.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like, no, these people also died as a part of the conflict.
That must be like, I'm already sometimes like going like, when I see particular types of community notes. Thankfully, it's only like 10% of the time. 90% I'm like, okay, I guess the community note has been used properly. But I'm guessing for you, especially as a historian, the cringe levels are fucking.
Yeah, I was like, come on,
man.
Yeah.
Yeah. I literally got goosebumps just thinking, like putting myself in your fucking place. But now I'm going down a complete rabbit hole in my brain.
Yeah.
Holy shit! Using YouTube in general as a historian. Oh my fucking god!
Oh, dude.
Do you always click? Are you a self-hating fucking masochistic imbecile like myself? No, I click. I always. I'm like, oh yeah. I'm Tim Pool. Okay, click. Time to watch this for an hour and a half. And scream at my fucking TV. And I'm like, I was looking at my dad sitting like literally fucking belly out, naked in underwear, screaming at the TV, watching football or something. And I said to myself, I will never be that fucking guy. And now, Who the fuck am I? I'm not even watching football. I'm screaming at a guy in a hat talking about things he doesn't understand that lives perpetually in my TV set. So
I
we
had
all
a moment
become
like that too with football, but yeah, like you become your dad, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, we have. We
Yeah.
just adapted. We do the same thing. We just react to a different type of commodity. Is what I'm saying.
Yes, yeah. Though I actually found myself reacting to the exact same commodity when I was like, I couldn't get my TV working because I recently moved, and there was a football game on, and I was like, literally, yeah, thank you. There was a football game on, and I couldn't get the TV working, so I was literally listening to the radio, and I was like standing up because I was getting excited. And I was like, "This is literally the shit my dad does."
Yeah, absolutely. Dude, I've also started like never with my partner or something. Of course not. But when it's inanimate objects and something is not working or something is not doing what it's supposed to do, I started punching stuff. Like I hit stuff, I throw stuff. I found myself spitting at my kitchen because the thing did not want to, like, one of the fucking little doors things, like I tried to close it and it didn't want to close because the plates inside were like too thick or something. So I hit it, and when I hit it, it went back into my head. So my reaction immediately was like somebody's attacking me, and I spit at my own fucking kitchen. But after doing it, I just stood there looking at myself, looking at the kitchen, my head hurting, and being like, dude, what the fuck are you doing, man? Calm the fuck down. But no, fuck that fucking kitchen. No, I fucked it up. Now it fucking closes every time, bitch ass motherfucker. So, we all become our parents in different ways.
Yeah, what were we talking about?
We were talking about alternative history. And,
that's it. Yeah.
We mentioned community notes and how much we get angry at the. Community notes sometimes.
Because we. One of the things something that you want to talk about towards the end, I think, plays into that, and I'm excited to talk about that. About like because what I do on YouTube is basically I'm like a shitty like content cop. Like I
not shitty, my friend. Far
okay,
superior.
I'm a content cop for people who like to read.
Content cop for smart people, okay? But are you saying that the other one is for dumb people? Guys, it is.
I mean,
but yeah, no, absolutely. Especially,
no, it's funny, but yeah,
that was my favorite part about the recent. No, I completely agree with how you depict your content in a good way. But my favorite thing, that the main reaction about the recent content cop is chuds perpetually stuck in the age of, I don't know, 17 when they watched Content Cop for the first time, negatively criticizing it only because it's not as basically fucking made for absolute fucking cretins like it was back in the day. Fucking peak shit, absolute peak shit. But like, speaking of like content copping, because you really content copped one particular individual.
Yes.
What happened to What If Alt Hist? I watched a part of his enlightened white man tries shrooms for the first time, so now he thinks he's God rant. That shit was absolutely fucking beautiful. That's one of the best videos I've ever watched in my life. I'm not even kidding. That was incredible. I was like, this has to be a bit. This has to be a bit. But it continues and continues and continues, and it's not a bit. And I'm like, oh my fucking God. Like,
was it like a re-upload that you watched, by the way? Because I'm pretty sure he deleted it or like hid it.
Somebody made like a compilation. I didn't watch the whole thing.
Yeah.
Chat found it and sent it to me, and somebody probably sat through the whole thing and then just took the juiciest, sometimes quite literally, parts of the rant and put it into one thing.
Yeah, I have like a clip sitting in my downloads folder, literally of just him looking at the camera saying that Odin told him to write down the names of every woman he's jerked off to. Which is like, I remember like, go on, sorry.
Oh my God, you have not talked to Hermes Trismegistus, so you don't know. Absolutely, Hermes has not hit me up, but he has hit up What If Alt Hist. And one thing that kind of leaks through his rant is just how seriously he takes himself. Like he
Yes.
takes himself exceptionally seriously. He's like, I am literally changing and moving worlds. I am
Yes.
creating new young intellectuals. I'm the teacher of the people. God has given me as a gift to all of you.
Yeah,
Through the fact that I
like
make videos. Incredible,
all these
incredible stuff.
guys want to be thought leaders, I think. Like
Yeah.
all of them want to be like they don't just want to make YouTube videos or do that. They want to be like a political figure. They think they're important and should be a political figure.
That's so
And
funny.
so all of them are trying to like do these, yeah, like there was one that I made a video on early on called Monsieur Z or Monsieur Z.
Mm-hmm.
And he like his whole thing is also like Zoomer historian. Basically, he sort of portrayed himself as a Zoomer historian or the spirit of Gen Z or whatever. And he's not French, I don't think, but I think he was like, or unless he was like French Canadian, which might actually be worse.
Oh my God.
But
Yeah.
and but his thing was that like he had this like Art Deco style and everything, like 1920s like fascism stuff, like early fascism shit, and he of course also like 1950s America and everything.
A classic,
And he
yeah.
also just did did alternate history stuff. And his his alternate history stuff, he was always trying to sort of put it into like a political career thing. And so what they ended up doing was that these guys ended up becoming associated with Nick Fuentes through an organization they made, which was called American Virtue at one point. It was called like what's the it's AFPAC, which is America First Political Action Committee. Like they were associated with that, and then they tried to make their own political action committee. And he started like tweeting about selling tickets to it, which is then going to be like his own con, basically. He got like 3 likes on Twitter
Oh my God.
on his post, and nothing. And then he deleted the post after I made fun of him. But yeah, like they all tried to do this thing where they want to be like.
Didn't the OG Sargon
more.
of Akkad also go like, I'm gonna like join a
Yeah,
party
UKIP,
over
right?
in the UKIP, and then
Yeah,
UKIP got embarrassed by it and they moved him in the background or something because he was actually running.
I think
for
so. Yeah.
Yeah, tell me if I'm wrong. I'm loosely.
Yeah, I think it was. Yes, his name is Mosley. His last name is actually Mosley.
Actually, love
Yes,
it.
no joke. I like literally when I looked him up and I was like making the video, I was like, I don't know if this is actually his real name. I had to ask people who had known him to try to like find out, and they said like I've spoken to him before, and from my understanding, it's probably his real name.
Dude, like his parents fucked him up for life, bro.
Yeah, dude, it's like nominative determinism or whatever it's called.
Exactly,
like,
right, but like
Yeah.
on steroids. Like we got,
Yeah.
there was a good German movie where they're basically like the whole film is inside of one apartment and they're arguing constantly over one simple fact. One of them is pregnant, and they say that they want to name their kid Adolf. And that it's time to get
Take back the
over-
name.
Yeah, take back the name type shit, and it just
Yep.
spirals out of there. But yeah, the only name that I can imagine other than Mosley to fucking predetermine your child's entire life is that. But then again, I want to name my son Vladimir. And I do think, but I'm risking it because at this point there's
Yeah.
so many fucking Vladimirs. Obviously, I think chat and which Vladimir I would like him to be more like.
Yeah,
but,
yes.
like, there's a lot of Vladimirs, okay? And of course, I'm talking about Vlad Cepers Dracul because
Of
he
course,
did
yes, yeah,
absolutely nothing fucking wrong. Made the pikes regrow on the beautiful plain fields of Romania. Sorry. Okay, but no Ottoman apologia in this chat. But no, jokes aside, yeah, they genuinely start drinking their own Kool-Aid. But isn't it very
Yes.
very fun, my friend, that they want. So they represent an ideology that does not want to actively criticize or overturn the capitalist mode of production, which always commodifies absolutely everything, including their so-called thoughts that they want to lead, the things they put on paper, and then sometimes eloquently, sometimes not so much, depict in video form, which could very much be defined now. Might be subjective as a part-time YouTuber as well, and so on, but can sometimes truly be a piece of relative academic or ideological or even philosophical contribution to a particular topic. But they are representing an ideology that completely gives itself over to commodifying absolutely everything, including the stuff that they're making. So in the long run, the ideology that they want to represent turns around and tells them, you are not creating new thought, you're simply creating content. Absolutely everything is content. There is no additional lever to it.
These guys are, because it's YouTube. Everyone knows how YouTube works. They hop on YouTube, they're like, I will be a thought leader. And then YouTube, being YouTube, says, no, you are a product. You are not, you are not this great politician. You are not this great figure you want to become. You are content.
And then they come and talk to someone like us, and we're like, look, isn't that fucked up, bro? Isn't that fucked up? And they're like, no, I love being, I love YouTube's beautiful boot in my fucking mouth.
yeah. And like, because they I think view success in terms of like them making the content and making money off of the content, them succeeding by that metric also means that they are saying something interesting. They don't really see that isn't necessarily like correlated at all. You are just making
have you watched
something...
Mr. Beast, motherfucker? Like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, you are making profits for a massive corporation.
Incredible. Actually, like that to me is truly incredible. To drink your own Kool-Aid so much that you think that luck didn't got nothing to do with it, maybe, and the algorithm just liked your shit, and now it's reprinting it like fucking crazy.
I think though, like there is a because we see this like social media megalomania stuff like play out all over the place all the time. So there's obviously mechanisms inside the how it's all built up that make you that are meant to make you think this way. Like a buddy of mine was talking about how his buddy posted a lot of TikToks. He got 1,000 followers. He can now go live. Now he starts going live, thinking that people want to watch him just hang out, and TikTok is basically making him be like TikTok is telling him that you are important enough that people will watch you just sit on your couch or whatever. It is like the ecosystem exists to kind of breed this sort of mental illness, I think. And it's not great. Like even the YouTube plaque. Like I recently hit 100,000 subscribers.
Congrats!
So they're sending me a plaque.
Bravo!
Thank you.
I know that you came on my show to celebrate. It's the greatest.
Yeah, exactly. This is my celebration. This is my party.
I didn't want to. Yeah, this is more important than the plaque. I was always like, I love this guy, but he's nobody. He doesn't have 100,000 subscribers. Now he has 100,000 subscribers. That means that you're a thought leader. Welcome amongst your fellow thought leaders. I'm joking, right? Like apologies. If
I know. I
don't think what I just said. I'm fucking around. My
I can tell.
Welcome. Do you want a first thought or a second thought? Jesus, I'm gonna shoot myself.
No, but also like that is like a trophy to your like they are sending you a trophy that says like you are important, and that is like kind of weird.
And it's in the cultural zeitgeist for everybody, I guess, under the age of 45. So even your IRL friends, they look at it, at least mine did, and like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, exactly.
I knew you did that like online thing, but now you got like a physical thing that says, "Oh, you're good at that online."
Yeah,
thing,
it's real now.
Which means it's real. Exactly. It's they do it really. They're really smart. I mean, it's internal marketing to an extent. Every fucking company does it. We just don't get any health coverage or benefits from YouTube. They're like, woo. That's why I always fuck around. They're like, the gig economy started with Uber and so on. Nah, the gig economy started with content creation, but they don't. Up until relatively recently, they didn't even pay you for the gigs you were doing for them because it was a hobby. It wasn't labor.
Yeah.
Whatever that's supposed to be. But
there's actually a question. Can you engrave the hammer and sickle like on the plaque? You can actually put whatever the fuck you want on the plaque. They don't even make you put your channel name, which is so funny. Like they just said like what is the channel name you want on here? So I could have just put some, yeah, whatever. I should have just put Mr. Beast.
That would have been fucking hilarious. Oh my fucking god! And you can like resell it online and say, yeah, yo, I bought
yeah.
Mr. Beast's OG fucking silver plaque from, I don't know,
Well,
1998.
it's also super funny that like they get you a link that says like celebrate with your team. So like let's say you have employees for your channel or whatever. So you can now buy a plaque with your name on it and give it to your employee as well. It's like the weirdest thing. I know like a lot of these guys do that, like these big YouTube
like,
groups or teams. Yeah, they're like, yeah, it's weird.
If they help you like pipeline down, because you're at the point when you're a company and you have employees, I guess you become like an outsourced agency. So when you want the outsourced agency to continue working with your main office, you wanna stimulate them in different ways so that they feel like they're part of the you're part of the company, bro. Yeah, but
you give them something with your name on it so they feel more important.
Exactly. Oh, that's what they literally do. Like I don't know. I worked in an ad agency, and like Absolute Vodka was shout out to Sweden, I think, right? Absolute Sweden.
I think so. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It's not bad. It's not good, but it's not bad. And they like constantly, like the amount of fucking merch they would come in, and the bosses would be like, you see, you're getting job improvements because you have your 7th Absolute vodka jacket and tracksuit and everything. Don't talk to me about salary increases. You see, Absolute really cares.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Even though Absolute started paying them a lot more or whatever. I'm probably not legally allowed to talk about this. Who gives a fuck? I'm wearing a mask. Eat my ass. But
yeah, they don't know who you are.
Yeah. Let's move on to very serious
something less
thought leader conversations. Yes. Okay. So now put your serious face. Thought leader. Okay. But no. I actually do want to hear your take on this. Does apolitical history coverage even exist?
No. It's the simple answer, but obviously it's a little bit more complicated than that. So you can, so you can, like everyone who claims to be like an apolitical historian or whatever on YouTube specifically, and also everyone who claims to be a historian on YouTube often, unless they're like a guy who's a historian first and then like makes YouTube videos second, they are trying to like construct a authoritative image in your head. Selling something as apolitical sort of elevates it above stuff that's quote unquote political, makes it seem less biased. Historians are meant to be unbiased, or ideally, and that is like a way for them to sort of sell this sort of persona to you. And the reason there isn't any apolitical history is because history itself is narrative form, often written narrative form. It's something. Like, it is a story, right? And when you're constructing the story, because it is constructed, it's not like something you can just observe, like a scientific experiment or anything. When you're constructing this story, you are grabbing sources which were written down by someone else who also probably has biases and agendas and everything, and were written down in a certain historical and material context and social context, and you are picking the ones that you think are important to the story and important to transmitting the essence of the story. So you're making a whole lot of selections in here.
Yeah.
And every single selection you're making is prone to, any sort of influence by what you believe. And that is a good thing. That's not a bug, that's a feature. Because you as a historian, you are trying to actually tell, a good historical account, right?
Yeah.
And how else would you be guided to do so than by your convictions? So if you think that a piece of history that you're writing is you think there's something wrong that happened and you want to tell people about that, that's not a bad thing that you are invested in it for a political or moral or whatever reason.
Of course.
That's important. Yeah, it's it motivated you to write that, and it's going to make you, push this into the world, make people see this. It's all it's all a good thing that history is political, and it all is.
Beautifully put.
And yeah, thank you. And also, every historian who like tries really hard to be apolitical is also just boring. Like it's not fun to read. I had a professor at university tell me that like a historian who doesn't have opinions or doesn't voice opinions is writing something that's boring, and there's nothing worse than a historian who's boring.
Nothing worse.
Like,
Absolutely.
Yeah, literally. I mean, I'm sure there can be worse things, but that's how he put it. Yeah.
Especially when they talk about like particular perspectives, and they're like, "Oh, Mike threw a glass bottle at Bishop's face. Mike's perspective was ABCD. Bishop's perspective is, oh my God, my fucking head, I'm bleeding, I'm fucking dying. What the fuck is happening?"
Or
right?
Bishop's perspective is unconscious. Yeah.
Yeah, Bishop's perspective is like, you don't say, huh? But no, it's still, yeah. I could respect the grind, but I can absolutely see how it could be perceived as boring.
I just want to say, like, yeah, you do want to bring in all these perspectives, but at some point you got to say whichever perspective is like more likely to be truthful, or or better for the narrative. And when I say better for the narrative, I don't mean like suits your political ends or anything. I mean, there is a narrative here that is meant to be, or the ideal is that you're constructing an accurate narrative of what happened.
Yeah.
So you're trying to figure out what is best to that end. And of course, what is accurate is obviously, once again, a subjective assessment.
Yeah.
So like there is no getting around it. And it's a good thing, I think.
It is.
Because it means that, because it means history is then becomes a part of like the sort of, what do you call it? Like, it doesn't become like a tool for, I guess it could be. It's a tool for change also sometimes. Like a lot of political like, how do I say it? Like a lot of like big issues, which have like impacted indigenous communities, for example, where they get like restitution for crimes committed in the past, for example. That only comes to light because someone actually dug up the history and wrote that history.
Of course.
It is a good thing.
Without history, we're absolutely nothing. Not to do the cliches, bound to repeat it, but yes, ironically, bound to repeat it, because it's funny. We repeat it even when we know the history. Imagine how often we would repeat it if we didn't know it, motherfucker.
Yeah, because I mean, for example, like with fascism and stuff like that. For example, the reason it's being repeated, I think, a big part of it is because the history was told in a bad way. It wasn't like things weren't impressed upon people in the correct way. History wasn't used as a means for sort of inoculating people against this to the right degree. Like immediately in the post-war era, a lot of historians were fucking like concerned about linking Nazi Germany to the Soviet Union and saying that communism equals Nazism and Nazism equals communism. That doesn't help anyone.
Absolutely, it does the contrary.
Yeah. Oh, I guess it does help someone, but we know
a few someones.
Yeah.
It's always been fascinating to me that people can understand that. For example, I don't know what example I can give, like chemistry. You can use chemistry to develop medicine that helps tens of thousands of people, or you can use chemistry to develop a gas that can kill as many people as quickly as possible. So they look at it as quite literally an instrument. They look at the science as an instrument, which can be used just like as a hammer to build a house, or fucking bludgeon someone, Bishop in from the previous story. But they do not apply the same thing to any of the other sciences, social sciences, crafts, etc., etc. And it's dumb, because this absolute same logic can be applied to their inherent subjectivity and to the inherently subjective manner through which the information that they recreate or create, the manner in which it is utilized and by whom it is utilized. So yes, all of history is political, but everything is. Everything is inherently subjective. As well, obviously, to lesser or greater extents, but that's a conversation for another time. But it is annoying that people can understand that a lot of other sciences are quote unquote political, but then probably it causes you headaches. They come to yours and they're like, oh no man, you gotta be like unbiased, which is
It's like
impossible.
because a lot of people they will like start watching my video and then they hear me express an opinion and they're like, okay, well, I can't trust anything you say now because like you believe something, and it's like, bro, what kind of world do you live in?
It's the mentality of a fucking child that has
Exactly, yeah,
experienced a lot, which a lot of people online are. So I get it.
Yeah, and I believe a lot of these people, yeah, because like a lot of these people are children, and that is again like I circle around to this a lot when I talk about this stuff, because YouTube is like the barrier to entry, or like the barrier to access to history on YouTube is virtually nothing. Every child now has a smartphone.
Yeah.
Like you could have a a kid who's like meant to be watching YouTube Kids. They manage to tap their way into some sort of button or whatever the fuck, and suddenly they're watching Waterfall his talk about Odin, telling him, about his jerk off.
How big his cock
exactly.
is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. So like, because of that, like the
but with history specifically, but with history especially, the barrier to entry is absurd. I mean, that the fucking boomers tell us that we were brainwashed because of all this or that version of fucking fake news. Motherfucker, you watched one guy like 20 years ago, I think it was on History Channel or whatever, say, oh, there's no way humans made this. It must be fucking aliens about the pyramids.
Yeah.
And we can't get rid of that fucking foskula. How do you even say it in fucking English? The fucking theory to this fucking day. And we are naive, motherfucker. The History Channel, a fucking thing that like you can't even pause, told you that thing, and you still believe it. But yeah.
It's like so dude sees like some shit about like JFK tanking 8 bullets on the History Channel or whatever, and like it shapes his entire like politics.
Absolutely, and it's like. And it's only with like social sciences. There's this absolutely. I'm not calling history as a science of its own, but there's well-deserved respect. I'm not knocking it, but when it comes to biology, medicine, stuff, everybody's like, oh, listen to the professionals, man. People that are trained in this, they know what they're talking about. But when it comes to politics, when it comes to history, when it comes to sociology, everybody's got a fucking opinion, and they're absolute fucking experts. That's what I meant with very low barrier to entry, because there is no stigma about being herder. I really know everything about what Lenin did in 1917. Type shit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and another thing about like the barrier to entry thing is that with YouTube, consuming it and also creating it, very low barrier to entry. But with the books and stuff that you would get a hold of, history books can be really fucking expensive. Of course, there are other means by which one can acquire and read books, which
they're difficult to read. That's why the barrier to entry is also big. Reading is difficult in general. For my little TikTok
and also
brain.
knowing where to start as well. Like you do not know, like stepping into any sort of the historiography, which is it's a annoying word because it means both the study of the field of history, but also it means the history written on a specific topic. So like the timeline of history written about a topic. So stepping into the historiography of a field or a topic, when you're not aware of it, which I often have to do, is a mess. Now, luckily I've attended university and was taught a few like skills, I guess, and like techniques. But for a lot of people, they might pick up a book that's absolute utter dog shit. It might potentially turn them off of reading it, like any more about the history, or it might give them like really bad ideas that they just get stuck on. And yeah, it's really really dire because it does take a lot of time. It's hard to read these books, but YouTube videos, just hit play, eat your cereal while you watch it.
And and then little Timmy is running around Zeke Heiling around the living room, and you're like, what
literally,
the fuck?
And talking about Odin and stuff,
yeah. I mean, honestly, like, and that was with higher barriers of entry. I even remember myself as a kid for the first time without the context, of course. I even talk about it a little bit in one of the videos I made about fascist aesthetics or whatever. I'm just like browsing TV. I remember I was 5 or 6, and there's these dudes in fucking leather jackets, fucking walking around, fucking, guns, fucking helmets. I'm like, whoa, they got that little like weird cross thing on their fucking arms. I'm like, whoa, this is so fucking metal. Let's fucking go, without knowing any of the context, right? And I literally was running around the living room like doing the Heil Hitlers, not knowing anything. And then that was the only time my grandpa fucking hit me. I just flew through the fucking room. I flew, 5-year-old me teleported to the other side of the fucking apartment. And I remember being so fucking confused. What the fuck? I'm just doing the cool guys from history thing. What the fuck? I thought Grandpa was into history. Grandpa was into history. Yeah, all right. And then he probably properly educated me that that's not a good thing, and those guys were not cool, no matter how relatively cool looking. Even though I talk about that in the video, I'm not going to get into it, but you get my point. Yeah. So basically, I'm saying even pre-internet, Yugo got alt-right cooked for a day until Chad Grandpa saved me from the clutches of.
It's like so easy.
Of the PewDiePie.
It's so like the PewDiePie.
Jesus, I'm teleporting through time, bro.
Oh, dude. Oh, actually, yeah. Like the two topics I've gotten most death threats over was me talking about PewDiePie, like mildly criticizing him, and me mildly criticizing Mr. Beast. Never ever otherwise.
Incredible lives. Imagine being the world's greatest fan of PewDiePie. Like, what are you into, bro?
Yeah, and like fucking 2025 as well. Like,
yeah, does he still even make stuff? Who gives a fuck?
Actually, yes, it does. Because when I got those death threats, I made like a tweet. I was like, talking about how PewDiePie loves Yukio Mishima, or I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly, the Japanese fascist guy, the gay fascist.
The dumb guy's. I call him the dumb guy's favorite philosopher. Yeah.
Yes, the guy who's like,
what if honor, bro? And what if like kill? Like, I tried to read a bit. It's literally what if we disagree and I fuck you up? Whoa, sorry, yeah.
And it's manly and hot.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then he decided to try to do a coup in Japan and didn't really work out. Killed himself immediately after. But and not no TOS. I'm talking about history. The thing I was going to say was that I criticized PewDiePie for loving this guy.
Mm-hmm. Rightfully,
and and then literally like 2 weeks after, he made a video where he was lifting weights and working out whilst reciting Mishima like poetry.
Oh my God.
So that's what he's up to now.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Yep.
I guess that's our future once we make it big with this YouTube and Twitch and podcasting.
We'll be lifting together and like reciting poetry.
Yeah.
Yep.
but speaking of poetry, what I'm about to ask.
I'm very excited to see where this one goes.
I guess what I'm about to ask is so overarching and huge that it might be borderline disrespectful to ask a historian, but I'll do it anyways. Just how much, like, give us I don't know, not a tier list, give us a graph, like percentage. I want percentages, goddammit. Just how much of what we know about our history do you think is rooted in ideological bias versus factual truth about what happened in particular periods of time and so on? And I'm guessing it changes based on how far back a particular event is and how more recent and more discussed the particular thing is.
Yeah.
Or that
so
might
I think
not,
it does have like an impact, because I think a better way to sort of approach this idea is that it's not that it's like rooted in bias and stuff, but that it's potentially like it's uncertain. So we know mostly about a lot of authors like that might have like lied about the stuff, like a lot of Roman history. You can tell that stuff that was written at the time, like the primary sources, they were how are you going to do that? I just saw you bring a glass of water up to your mouth with your mask on.
I know, that's why I sometimes move out of the frame.
Oh, okay, like
disrespectful. Feel super disrespectful while you're talking to move out of frame.
No, go right ahead.
Please continue talking. Chat is listening. They are what matters.
Oh yeah, I was just like, how are you going to do that? But yeah, so
Huzzah!
I literally forgot my train of thought, and it's not your fault. It's me getting distracted.
You were talking about the Roman Empire being a
So
great
like
example of
yeah, you know exactly what these authors' biases are and what they would be saying, and you know the sort of intellectual tradition they're operating in, the kind of words they use and everything. You can kind of tell. Historians are
Vibe
really
check,
good
yeah.
at this stuff. It's like a very educated vibe check. These historians are very smart. That's like the bottom line. You're like you can trust these experts on this, I think, to a degree. But that's like us looking at really old sources that are biased. Then there's also this sort of common public perception of historical events, which is completely different from what many experts believe. Often, because a lot of it is shaped by like popular history, which popular history is, of course, the opinion of the experts filtered down into whatever your like documentary you're watching, your video game you're playing, that kind of stuff. But that process of it filtering down takes a very long time. So a lot of stuff that's in popular history can be outdated. Much of it can also have been altered to, suit the movie or game or whatever, because it's like it doesn't make for a good game, doesn't make for a good movie, that kind of stuff. And because of that, you end up with, and of course because of just regular, existing in current society, in a capitalist society, right? Like there are constant influences on us that shapes how we view history in very subtle ways. So it's not about history like being rooted in like, I don't know, biases of the authors or anything. It's more like most people, when they approach history, even if it like the history is written very good, you might read it in a certain way, or like you might just think about history in a certain way if you're not reading history, because of the society you live in, your local context. So you are kind of ending up with a like, a society that views East Germany in a certain way that might not actually be factual, or views North Korea in a certain way that might not be factual, views the British Empire in a certain way that might not be factual, or quote unquote factual, I guess. Like there are that you will not find historians on colonial history who do not condemn the actions of the British Empire. That basically doesn't exist except for like Niall Ferguson, maybe, who's a conservative historian.
Yeah, I heard about him. Yep.
Yep. Like you generally will not, but you will find many people who know many things about the British Empire who do think that the British Empire might have, done some good things, as they say. And I think this is like the crux. It's the popular conception of history that's more important, because it doesn't matter what the historians are doing if they can't get that info out to the public,
Absolutely, could not agree more, and beautifully put. Do you think that now under the apologies under
No, you're
under
good.
the context of pretty much everything being constantly and continuously recorded, because technology, I can never do the fucking meme, technology, and when the guy says technology,
I do not know this guy.
fucking boomer.
Sorry.
Technology, human design, human design, yeah. Very human design. Never mind. I apologize for the behavior of my passion.
No, you're good. You're good.
Yeah, it will be very interesting to see the process of recording history, and then how it is perceived in like 200-300 years, if we're still alive by then as a species, I mean, and me as well. I do not plan on dying ever.
Yep. Me neither.
It's going to be very interesting how they depict this era, because it's arguably, you can tell me if I'm wrong, the first time when we are basically creating so many data points for future historians to reference, that it can either turn into a massive mess or potentially depict it relatively clearly.
Yeah. I mean, so a lot of what we're creating, like the data points, are suffused by like our dominant culture and everything. Like it's all you can kind of see, like there were a lot of data points even like in ancient Rome and stuff that had to be sifted through, and there's then of course like in like advent of the printing press, even more and more data points. So you always have these like technological explosions that create more data points, but most of like the dumb Facebook posts that people put out aren't going to be of that much use, and most like news articles aren't going to be of that much use. You're going to get like aggregate narratives that are going to be important, and it's less about like the data points at that point. It's going to be helpful actually to have all these data points, I suppose, but you're never going to have to be like, oh yeah, this guy used that source and everyone knows that source. It's going to be more about like being able to sift through what actually happened through the mess of everything, and figure out like the essence of this. What is the story here? What is the story of this period, this era?
Yeah. It
like,
it can also,
World War
but like the messy part that I was mentioning is like, even now somebody referring to the 15th century or the 3rd century or the 5th century BC and so on, and sometimes referring to a source that is either outdated or to a person from the period that wrote something that we later found out was absolute complete like bullshit, bro. None of this fucking happened. You were just glazing emperor number 17. You were existing in the context of your time, etc., etc. But now, because of the digital era, I can just imagine and applying that to like reactionary thinking and like conspiratorial, unacademic analysis of the past. There's gonna be probably a fucking guy in 2187 that's like going through old archives of Facebook, as you mentioned, Facebook posts, and finding and creating an aggregate of like hundreds of thousands of boomer Facebook posts where they're saying COVID is not happening, they are lying to you, go out in the streets, do not get vaccinated, and he's gonna start a whole like Alex Jones style fucking podcast talking about that shit. I'm saying that they'll have more data points for conspiratorial bullshit, etc., which is going to be such a fucking mess.
Yeah, there's going to be like very, very wild like schools of thought, because you have in various fields of history, you have like schools of thought that say like this thing was more like this thing was more like this. Like in terms of like the Roman Republic, there is a I think it's like an Anglo kind of school of thought and a German kind of school of thought, and one holds that the Roman Republic was more like, you know, Republican, and one holds that it was like more like just client-patron relationships and not like a lot of institutions and stuff.
Okay.
And these people are still kind of debating this, and they will continue to debate this probably forever, until we have time machines, if we ever do. But which I probably do not think we will, but you know, that's the thing that historians always talk about. Like, you know, we will continue to not really know until we have a time machine, is what historians say.
Wow, that's really good context. Yeah, and especially applied to the future, because go on.
Yeah, like so you're gonna have these like very small, niche, wild communities who are gonna say this dumb shit, right? But because the historians, at least nowadays, are pretty smart, I think they are. And they're probably gonna be smart in the future too, I hope. They're probably gonna be able to like, I don't know, make sure these niche things remain a niche, like niche problem, which is still a problem. Alex Jones is still a problem, even if like, you know, nobody reasonable believes any of the shit he says.
Yeah, because he's a huge, beautiful threat. Have you seen that man on Ozempic? God damn,
he's like. He's like less huge now, but
yeah, dude, fucking lean and shit. Like, motherfucker, not only losing money, losing some pounds too, bro.
Yeah, I'm seeing.
We're becoming like, you know, that fucking stupid podcast Red Scare. Like, we're becoming them, like gooning for.
Oh
Alex
glazing
Jones.
Alex Jones. Yeah.
I'm not starting shit. Please continue. No, the context you're giving is no. Unironically, I never really thought about different schools of thought inside of historical analysis of particular eras or particular states, particular cultures, etc., etc. And how that's going to extrapolate in the future. Yeah, fucking crazy.
Yeah, because that's going to happen. There's going to be people who I mean, right now, if you look at analysis of like what people believe is going on in the world, like the larger trends and everything, that's also what's going to happen in the field of history. People are going to analyze the era and say, you know, this is probably what happened. And with like now, like people cite like or look to neoliberalism to explain like many factors, for example.
Yeah.
People, there are other people who do not, who point to other things. The exact same thing is going to happen in the future.
and it's just gonna be so beautiful to see. But unfortunately, we gotta do commit die. If you could time travel, past or future, bro.
Oh, future, absolutely, right?
But you're a historian. That's an insane answer.
Well, I mean, fucking, I can read. Like, I can go into the future and read, like, what happened, you know?
That actually makes sense. Yeah. True. And also, can you imagine what it smelled like back then? That is my main, like, holy fucking shit.
Depends on where you go and everything, but, like, because, like, a lot of places, like, even the Middle Ages, a lot of those guys, like, in some places, they did not bathe for shit, but, like, a lot of them, they, like, perfumed and stuff.
Oh, yeah, no, dude, look at me. I'm Eurocentric as fuck. So, yeah, I was thinking about smelly Europe, not the beautiful, perfumed up, Middle Eastern republic.
Exactly. Yeah, I would not go to, like, downtown Paris or something like that.
Oh, God.
Yeah, no.
Yo, let's go hang out.
That place,
well, dude,
we have perfume. We have perfume now, and that place still doesn't smell good.
Yeah, bro. We're meeting at 3 p.m. at the large pile of shit. It's 3:15. Yo, guys, we can't wait for him anymore. Like, he's not showed up at the massive pile of shit.
His wrist sundial.
And he's like, he might have gone to the other massive pile of shit. Let's go check the other massive pile of shit. He might be over there, center of Paris. But speaking of shit, that's a great jump off point. And unironically, I learned a lot from the way you explained the subjectivity in historical analysis, etc., like historical analysis of historicism, of being the pathway. But speaking of shit, it's a great jump off point for us to move into talking about what I consider to be one of your magnum opus works. But because you have multiple, I guess they're magnum opuses.
Yep.
God. You're my favorite guest of all time, I swear to God, because you actually tolerate my jokes. And like, guys, like we started chatting with fucking Freda, and I was immediately like, charisma was fucking flying off the fucking walls. You know when two people like smell each other and it just fucking works, right? Similar sense of humor, similar everything. So okay, I'm gonna stop glazing you. I'm gonna
both showing up hungover.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. Want to start a show, but
sure, yeah.
Actually, let's talk after. I'm not even.
Yeah.
But okay, so one of your magnum opuses. Can video games be history? So, Freda, tell me, goddammit, can video gamma be history?
Yes, absolutely. So, I cited like a book when in this video you're referencing. I cited a book that is like really fucking good on in this field that's relatively new about history video games and like history in video games, because history like people look at a movie and they might talk about like the period as if what they watched in the movie was real, right?
Yeah.
And when a guy makes a movie or a team makes a movie, there's a bunch of people who then look at reference materials and everything, and they try to embody the era or embody like what we think of the era as, and that is
unless they get money from the
history.
CIA and then they just build whatever the CIA says. But yeah,
but then they're embodying what we think of the era because a lot of things we think are also impacted by the CIA. So. They're like they're trying to create a thing that interacts with the actual history. So with a video game, even if that video game might have sort of like abstractions or might have sort of odd elements that might not be like exactly what happened, that video game has rules in it, and those rules or their mechanics will kind of inform you about how things worked in the period it's representing often. So let's say in Kingdom Come Deliverance, there is a mechanic which is like very, I guess like overt in at least the first one, I think in the second one as well. If you don't carry a torch at night, guards get real mad at you.
Yeah.
And I believe they like, I don't know the actual like veracity of this, but what they say is that it's based on like a law from the period. that you're not allowed to like walk around without a light at night because it's shifty. You could be trying to break into someone's
So
house or
there was
whatever.
not lights everywhere, so it was potentially
Exactly, yeah.
very easy to kind of sneak because it was as dark.
Yeah,
Yeah,
shifty,
I
and
was
also
genuinely like, whoa, that makes so much fucking sense.
yeah. Not only that, it could also be considered dangerous. Let's say someone's riding a horse, right, at
Oh,
night.
yeah.
They might not see you and ride right into you.
Yeah,
Like there's it's like traffic laws basically in the Middle Ages.
absolutely.
Um,
And even
so-
additionally, like Kingdom Come in general, it like just to add to your point of experiencing to an extent history, and I'm sure you're going to talk about
Yeah.
the inherent subjectivity to that and kind of the narrative that the particular game dev wants to play. But one just before we move on past Kingdom Come, one like prime thing that completely switched, like pressed a switch in my brain on how I imagined people from the medieval ages or any period pre, I don't know, 18th century. It completely switched the way I depicted them because I was mostly bred on these like highly pompous, usually
Yeah.
British medieval fucking borderline operas about the time where everybody's like walking around speaking very fucking weird and like has very strange like social norms that I cannot relate to. I was like, these motherfuckers are aliens as fuck. But in Kingdom
Yeah.
Come, all the characters are written, of course, in the context of the time, but they're written like normal fucking people. They say shit,
Yeah.
they say fuck, they get drunk, they love their wife, they cheat on their wife, they have money problems, they say they're very religious, but they don't actually practice it, or they actually practice it, etc., etc. I was like, dude,
Yeah, they're-
like we're the same. They're like,
Yeah.
they're not some weird fucking aliens that I don't know eat and live and shit. They were just humans living in different material conditions, and that game really managed to kind of not just inform me, but give me the ability to properly manifest an image of what life was like for the everyday person back then, which was so fucking powerful.
Yeah, it's like it's I think also one of the best things the game does, because you can talk about like all these like little I guess like factoids or whatever, these like elements that really like, oh yeah, that is that church, that is that thing, like these things that bring you into the world and immerse you. It's not just that, it's like the game makes you think differently about history, and what they're trying to make you think is this is a world where these people are normal like us. This is
Yeah.
a place where people have the same sort of like lives as us, and make you then engage with the world as if it was real. You start to think of the Middle Ages as like not a a strange alien thing, as you said, but like something relatable, something where you can kind of see the lives that these people lived. And
Yep.
that is very important. That's not a way that a lot of people thought about history in the Middle Ages, I think, until like maybe like the 1900s or something. Because a lot of like history of the Middle Ages, I think, now I'm not a medievalist. I'm not an expert on this at all. Like I mostly deal with modern history. But from what I understand, a lot of this stuff was like written obviously about like kings and important people and stuff. And then people start writing like people's histories. They start writing like, about the lives of peasants. They start like thinking about all these things that make up the society that weren't really highlighted that much before. And what Kingdom Come Deliverance does is very similar to this. I mean, you start as like a guy who
Just a guy, yeah.
seemingly is
Just a
like a
dude.
nobody, like a blacksmith's son, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And well, not nobody, like a blacksmith is like a skilled artisan, but you know what I
Of
mean.
course,
Like,
far from nobody. Yeah, it's very
Yeah,
respectable
yeah, but-
trade. Yeah.
exactly, yeah. But you're not like you're not the aristocracy. You and
That's the only
even
thing
as you, like-
I dislike, that they kind of did make him like half aristocratic as a bastard later on.
Yes,
Spoiler, I
yeah.
don't give a shit. Because like it,
I think that's like
they
them
sprinkled
trying
in
to
the
sort of-
element of
Yeah.
MC is special, main character is special.
Yeah,
Even though
but
they
I think
stay
that-
away from it and they comment
I
on
see
it.
like a reason for it though,
Please tell me.
gameplay wise, because and historically wise, because like he has to have a reason for being like taken seriously, I guess, in the narrative.
Absolutely, dude. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
'Cause,
Good
like,
point. I take my
because of-
point back.
oh, yeah.
Good point. Good point. No, good point. Good fucking point. Yeah.
Thank you. So yeah, it's like there's it's a very cleverly put together game, I think, in many ways. Because they also do constantly impress upon you that, like, even though he has this, it doesn't really benefit him that much. Sometimes it does. But people think he's like a knight and stuff, and he's like, no, I'm no sir. He says, like, literally every time he meets someone,
Yeah.
just because he carries a sword and stuff. But that's also a cool little bit that they talk about, like how the impressions or the culture of the period, people see you with armor and a sword. They think you're an important person because only
Yeah.
important people use those.
Class plays a role. It de-infantilizes people from, in this case, the medieval era, because I was infantilizing them all the fucking time. I'm like, literally, I got my first fucking job and I saw how fucking ripped off I'm being in fucking, in 21st century late stage capitalism. And I was immediately like, this makes no fucking sense. And then I'm reading about serfs. I'm like, and those motherfuckers didn't immediately go like, what the fuck? This makes no sense.
Yeah, they must be stupid, right?
Yeah.
Why didn't they just rise up and like fix things?
But then, it's a bit hard when you're fighting dudes that are literal fucking tanks, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's, and then you look around and you see like, oh, shit's fucked up. Why aren't we doing something? Oh, yeah, there's many reasons why things aren't happening.
Exactly. Like, it's easy to point back through time and be like, what the fuck, bro?
Yeah,
and then you're also
that is the real power of this game as history, I think. And many games as history, they make you connect to the period they're representing.
Yep.
In a way that other things don't. Because you are, like, when you're playing Kingdom Come Deliverance, you are Henry. This is your story, and therefore when you are told history in the game, it feels a lot more real because it feels like it's something that relates to you and your experience, which is a lot different from when you're reading about it in an abstract manner, for example, in a history book. And that also can be good and it can be really bad. Because if a game
very bad.
Because if a game has like really bad history, you might feel really connected to this history that might not actually be good for you to be connected to.
Because you're subjectively living through it, so you feel like you lived through it. So this evil thing that group did that might not have actually done in history, you now feel like they've done to you. Very good point.
And not just that, like when now someone else confronts that, they're confronting not just like your perception of like this period, which is obviously something you're already going to be defensive about. They're confronting your experience that you experienced, right? There's all these like little psychological things going on, where you might become defensive and not really be open to the idea that whatever you just saw or experienced might be wrong.
Yeah, and it like obviously, as you said in the beginning, in films, shows, and so on, a lot of preconceptions of particular historical eras can really get embedded in your head and make it very difficult for you to take it out. Like in my case, I don't know, I watched what was the stupid fucking movie, Enemy at the Gates at the enemy.
Yes, exactly.
At the gate of the enemy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And like it was just fucking stuck for forever. Like, oh my God, look at this horror of what they were doing. Yes, for the cause, but still very fucked up. Obviously, then I got older. I fucking read a book and I was like, okay, this was pure just Yankee fucking propaganda. But it was a film, and yet it stuck so much with me. And with a game, if you actually play through it, it sticks with you even more. And why did I use Enemy at the Gates as a prime example? Because I don't know, after I watched Enemy at the Gates, I played Call of Duty. And in Call of Duty, they copy all of the scenes 1-to-1. And that not only solidified my previous historical fallacies that I've learned from the movie, but now like completely embedded them in my brain. And it was extremely difficult for me to change my for a very long time. It was extremely difficult for me to change my mind on the Red Army in general. Like we're talking about 100 million people. But I played the game. I watched the movie, which was this powerful, and then I played a game that was this powerful when it comes to how it influenced my psyche, that it took me fucking years to get over it. So couldn't agree more.
I know, because I had the exact same impression from playing Call of Duty and stuff like that when I was younger. And the guy, the book that I cite in that video, the author opens the book by talking about the opening to Medal of Honor. I forget which one, but the Medal of Honor that starts at D-Day inside the sort of the landing
Oh my
craft.
God, yes. Oh, nostalgia.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Uh-huh.
Yes, exactly. Like he's talking about that, like how that when he first experienced that at like 16 years old in his dorm room or whatever. Yeah, I think it is Frontline Pooping Astronaut. Fucking reading like chat names and then
It's
as you're having this conversation. I did not like that took me off guard. Yeah.
Welcome. We
But
have
yes.
gay Lenin, we have sexy Lenin, we have
Yeah.
cutesy Lenin, and we have Lenin gay for Stalin. That's the type
Yep.
of people that enjoy my content. So welcome.
Yeah, no,
I
that's
apologize.
no, I mean, if you see the people in my Discord, it's no different. We are all the same.
Absolutely.
We're all, yeah. But I was gonna say yeah, that when he saw that when he was like 16, that like left a mark on him, and he was like, this feels like I'm learning history.
Yeah, and it was. But,
And yeah,
Mhm.
so video games are history, but they can also be bad history, and they can be good history, and they can be really good at teaching history, as we've discussed now with Kingdom Come Deliverance.
Absolutely. In the video, you have a great segment where you discuss how one gets paradox brain. Tell our
Yeah.
audience about what that is, because I'm sure half of chat already has it.
Yes, so paradox brain is obviously like when your historical conceptions are shaped by paradox games largely. So you have people who talk about like, oh yeah, why didn't like Hitler just Zerg rush Leningrad, not siege it or whatever the fuck, like these memes, like that's paradox brain.
Okay.
Or yeah, like or your dude in the chat T unicorn, or I don't know, I said dude in chat, but that's just how I talk about people. Person in chat, don't know, shouldn't be assuming.
You'll
But,
be fine. No, it's not gender. You're
yeah,
fine.
but yeah, playing Hearts of Iron 4 right now, like yeah, it's it's that. There's also the idea that ideologies are like a little like a niche team thing that you have to pick, because in that game you are picking ideologies. And a lot of people, young people particularly, are drawn to all these like political tests and stuff. And when they're playing Hearts of Iron 4, yes, exactly. And when they're playing Hearts of Iron 4, they're like, oh yeah, I'm picking this ideology. I'm picking this ideology when they're playing, particularly the Kaiserreich, because Kaiserreich, normal Hearts of Iron 4, without the Kaiserreich mod, is just communism, fascism, democracy unaligned.
Yeah.
Whereas Kaiserreich has like syndicalism. It's got totalism, which is like totalism is weird. It can be anything from literally fascism to like Leninism. It can be like it's weird. It's got everything into that one category. That one
we are
category is
all
very
of them.
Yeah, that
What do
category
you
is very
believe? All of it, my
problematic.
friend. Depending on
And,
how I wake up that morning.
Yeah, literally.
Today I'm
No, but it's-
anti-Semitic, tomorrow Jews. Okay, you know.
Yeah, if you're like playing Mussolini in the northern Italy in that game, you can create like fascist Italy, and it becomes totalist. But if you're also playing as like an actual communist in Russia, they can also be like totalist. I forget his name, but there's one famous Bolshevik, like an old guard Bolshevik that you can have take control. But like
Interesting.
this stuff, you start to think of in these terms, like in the sort of game terms. Yeah, ideology shopping basically. And
Yeah.
when you start to think of it in game terms, and also of course like map painting, like we gotta take this territory or we gotta take this land or whatever. Like, there are factories there that we could use. Like that's stuff in the game.
Yeah.
Like that is very paradox brained. There's also kind of like a positive way you can
Aspect
get
of it?
paradox
Mhm,
brained,
yeah.
I think. Because there's a it's Zinoviev, I think, actually, yeah, in Kaiserreich, sorry. But so in Victoria 3, another paradox game, so Hearts of Iron 4 is like the fascist one, and Victoria 3 is like the communist one.
Okay.
So in Hearts of Iron 4, a lot of people play that, kind of weird politics. A lot of people who play like Victoria 3, they tend to be like, oh yeah, so the reason things are happening is because of material factors, because what that game teaches you is that everything is happening due to material factors. And that's
Cool.
the game that I used as an example in the video, where you see like the farmers and the petite bourgeois, they have a tendency to gravitate towards an ideology late game called fascism.
Yeah.
So like you start to see this like the way this game shapes your brain and the way you think about history, and it can be problematic. And it's only recently with Victoria 3, which is a recent release compared to the other ones, actually had a positive impact. But for the most part, It's dudes being like, yeah, paint the map. That means my nation is winning. I'm gonna pick a new ideology today.
Let's
I
go,
woke up, I
Rune.
feel like a Leninist.
Yeah.
Tomorrow might be an anarchist. That kind of stuff. Yeah.
And it's very like how do I put this? You are literally looking at everything from atop a map, and
Yes.
ideology shopping has influence on how the gameplay develops, right? But you can't really feel or even see like what the everyday citizen of your great empire is experiencing when you're a fascist versus when you're a syndicalist. You just see numbers go up, go down, economy changes a bit, and from time to time you get one of those pop-up
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
messages, but it
Yeah,
feels
like
like,
the events,
they're almost the same. They're more like just different pathways to me painting the map,
Yeah,
as you said.
and some of them give you bonuses that are more helpful to you in the game, and in a way, that is the developer saying this one is better, which is a problem of its own. Because like the developers are like, for example, with Hitler in base Hotline 4 when it released, he was the best political leader in the game, and that means the developers are kind of saying, they're not trying to, but they are kind of saying Hitler was the best politician. Like he was the best at doing
Yeah,
politics.
he was the best at losing. What the okay?
Yeah,
Source.
exactly.
What
Yeah,
we
no,
talked
like-
about in the beginning of the show. Source, bro. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't like that good. Is just exploiting crises and opportunities, which he was good at. But the way
He's
they
great at
represent that is
politicking,
that they
that
give
for sure,
him,
yeah.
yeah, except they give him more political power points, which are points you use to assign ministers and all kinds of stuff and change policy in your country. So that means that Hitler's like a politician who moves fast and is able to, enact policy and change the country.
Yeah.
And that's how they represent that. Whereas like FDR, even now, FDR's only trait is like dislikes Germany, which is very funny, but like
It's
doesn't give
not
him any
Adolf
bonuses.
that's bigoted. It's FDR. He's a
yeah,
germanophobe.
FDR is good old anti-German
Fucking
FDR.
Krauts!
Bi-
Fucking what
bigoted
you
FDR.
eating all day? Fucking sauerkraut and sausage. Who the fuck eats
It's
steaks that look like
sausage.
dicks? You fucking kraut. FDR, circa 1939.
Yep.
Oh, fucking legendary. What's your take on the average gamer's perspective on history? Let's say American,
Oh, boy.
white kid, 26, played games his whole life.
Okay. I would say the average gamer, American white kid, 26, played games his whole life, most likely knows the millimeter thickness of the armor of his favorite tank, but cannot tell you like how certain historical events kind of played out.
Ha! I love that.
I like that's like my feeling and my concern with like a lot of like people who get this sort of shit through games.
Absolutely.
Like it's so many like very niche things, but not a lot of like bigger picture stuff, not a lot of like understanding of history, so to say.
You know how I know that you're like 100% correct on average? And sure, I'm not American, nor do I live in America, but the second you said it, I was immediately like, that's half of my male friends. That is what you mean, right?
Yeah, because like you get a history topic that you're like really into, but that doesn't necessarily like mean you know that much history. Knowing facts doesn't mean you know history. It's a different thing.
Yeah.
Knowing facts that's just that, but knowing history is how you connect all this stuff, and like it's the actual narrative, understanding it. And that's like that's a deeper thing that you get when you start to like arrange these facts, and that's what the historians do.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the difference
Yeah.
between hobbyism and actually dedicating yourself to a craft. And speaking of completely dedicating yourself to potentially killing a guy now, recently you hit a channel I've been eyeing for a while now. Zoomer Historian. Sorry, I gotta say it that
Yep.
way. Zoomer Historian. I'm never gonna say it. Zoomer Historian. Zoomer Historian, the world's premier Nazi apologist, fully monetized by YouTube. Let's talk about that. Anybody in chat who has not watched that yet, what the fuck are you doing? Right after this fucking stream, immediately go. And a second reminder, link pinned. You click the link and you go subscribe to Freda or I Beat You. Also, all the subscriptions to Yugopnik Twitch Thank you very much for supporting the show. I will read out after the interview just a small reminder that I have not forgotten about your well-endowed financial support of the show. But okay, back to the show. Sorry for the advertising interview.
No,
I'm still
no.
working on it.
I mean, you also advertised me in that, so I'm like, yeah, hell yeah, dude.
Yeah, brother.
Yeah.
So, how did let's start from the beginning of the story. This is going to be like in a movie about how one content creator killed another content creator. So I'm kidding. I hope that doesn't happen.
Yeah,
I'm
allegedly,
overdoing
yeah.
it. I'm overdoing it. I mean, do I hope? I don't. How did you find him, and how pissed off were you when it first clicked with you about what he was doing?
Okay, so I found him the way I found like a lot of these like guys, these weird little gremlins doing like fascist videos on YouTube. People in my community were like, "When are you gonna make a video on this?" And that's how I found him.
Really, but that
'Cause
sucks. Because I was
Yeah, 'cause
hoping you were
I
just
don't- I
scrolling
do
and you
not-
clicked it. Because
Yeah,
that's what
I
happened to me.
don't.
I was
Yeah, 'cause
scrolling, I clicked, I was like, and then
Yeah.
like red flag,
Yeah,
red
exactly.
flag,
Yeah.
red
Oh, I
flag.
mean, first you see like this, like the Wojak profile picture, and like, I don't know about this one. And it's got that like British colonial helmet on and everything. And like, But like, for a guy who makes YouTube videos for a living, I don't really watch that much YouTube.
Good
like,
for you, man.
Thank you. I pride myself on it. I curate my YouTube content. It is cooking videos, like aircraft accident or like disaster videos, and like that's kind of it, I think. Oh, and also like outdoor boys camping and stuff.
Oh
That's
yeah, I
like- that's
started
what I watch,
enjoying that
yeah.
as well. Yeah,
Yeah, it's so good.
But then it really forces me into going out, and then I have a hangover
Yes.
for 5 days. Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to get drunk when you're camping, you know, or when you go outside.
Dude.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. You're right. Yeah.
I mean, you
So,
don't have to have a great time. I'm kidding. Jesus. Kids don't drink.
Yeah, do
but
not,
okay,
do
that's
not.
how you
It's,
found him.
yeah.
That's how you found
Yeah.
him.
So, but yeah, in terms of like how pissed I was, so I wasn't pissed at like, you know, this is just like some weirdo doing fascist videos on YouTube. I was pissed that there's like, at the time at least, nobody was like talking about how this guy sucks. And then another guy called What Why How made a video on him, like an hour long, which was good. But yeah, at the time, like nobody was talking about how he sucks, and also like he was getting a pretty big following. He has like 170,000 subscribers,
Yeah,
I think.
it's crazy.
And yeah, and it's monetized, and some of his videos get a lot of views, and he's like pumping this shit out, so he's making money. And the thing that really pisses me off is that like whenever I talk about this stuff or want to, you know, clarify these like lies being spread or whatever, YouTube is like, you are talking about Nazism. This is kind of sketchy. Maybe we're going to demonetize this video.
Yeah.
Whereas he just gets to pump the shit out. And he has a very clever way of doing it, where he doesn't get impacted by demonetization the same way like I would be. Because it's very easy to deny the Holocaust on YouTube as a Nazi and not get demonetized. You just don't talk about the Holocaust. Whereas if you're an actual historian and you're talking about Nazi Germany, you have to talk about the Holocaust.
Isn't that wild?
And that, yeah. And then that means you don't make as much money. And that means that, you know, the guy who says maybe Germany wasn't doing anything bad makes more money. There are financial incentives to Nazism on YouTube.
What? Quite literally. I
Yes.
have a video that got not only demonetized, but 18 plus 5 months into its existence, even though it was getting
That's
regular
wild.
viewers. 18 plus, it was a video where I am criticizing certain misogynistic definitions of masculinity, the philosophical perspective
Yeah.
doesn't matter, but a video criticizing, including creators, philosophers, but creators as well, for very misogynistic takes, pretty much got 18 plus because of controversial conversations about gender norms, etc., etc. While
Yeah.
their content, you know, lives and thrives and doesn't get 18 plus, nor does it get demonetized. But
Yeah.
that's how it worked.
Yeah. So like that is what like pissed me most off. And I kind of held off on making a video on him because when I make a video on a guy, like they become like a lol cow. People don't take them seriously, at least in my community, and also they get more attention. And there were people who were thinking about like, they were trying to get in touch with YouTube to basically say like, hey, this guy's like, this guy's doing Nazism on your platform.
Yeah.
That didn't go anywhere, of course. So eventually it was just like, all right, fuck it, like let's just make the video, because I could have made this video like months and months ago and made all this money that I'm making off it, but like it just is low-hanging fruit. It is literally a guy just being like, he is literally just reciting like Nazi propaganda. He is just largely focusing on Nazi sources.
Well, literally, yeah. He's just straight up quoting them. Yeah.
Yes, literally. Like it's. I saw
you shouldn't feel bad that it's the low hanging.
confirmed.
You should feel bad that it's low hanging fruit. Like sometimes, yes, it's very easy to debunk. Nonetheless, deserves a good old debunking, especially when nobody else has done it or very few other people have done it. Right?
Yeah. And yeah, I don't know. Like it's kind of It is like a it's a catch-22, because like you gotta say something about this dude that like to make sure that people know that he sucks, but you're also gonna bring attention to him by doing so. So like any Nazi who sees my video is gonna be like, oh fuck, thank you for recommending this guy to me. And there have been many who have said that in the comments and stuff.
Absolutely.
But like that's unavoidable.
It is.
They are of course also a minority of the viewers, because like I can tell the Nazis probably aren't gonna hit the like button, but like most of my videos, even if they are controversial, because they are kind of in a way attacking someone, it still has like a 93% like ratio, which means I'm reaching the people I want to reach, which is the people who don't like the Nazis,
Yeah, and the 7% also says that there's a lot of people that have watched his stuff, came to you, didn't like it, but you don't have access to information of just how many of them came to you, watched it, and were like, oh, holy shit, what the fuck was I subscribed to? And then
I should have access to this information. This is why we need like a secret police and stuff.
Oh yeah, certain people have said certain things about
I gotta be updated on all the thought crimes.
Absolutely. How do you think like reactionaries usually manipulate history? Is it mostly, the Zoomer historian approach of just plain old lying, or using Nazi sources, or are there some more intricate strategies that you've noticed, if we can call them that?
I think that all of them have a strategy, and I try to, in every video that I make about a content creator, whenever I make it, like whenever I go back to the well or the mine. Like I try to identify what their strategy is, and with what about Hist? It's been so long, I've like kind of forgotten what it was. It's kind of like the Odin jerking off thing has like kind of scrambled my perception of him.
Like I can't. Like,
this
fruit is too fucking low hanging. Okay.
Yeah.
I can't be caught in 4K making fun of a mentally disabled guy on the internet.
Yes. No. I did not make a video about that video, because I was like, this guy's having like a moment.
I though am that petty, and it's so fucking funny.
I mean, privately, I was like, what the
God.
fuck?
Yeah. Hell, dude.
I think like I was literally at a party, or like, out drinking, and I got like the notifications on my phone or whatever, like people were saying like, dude, have you seen this? And I just went to my friend and I was like, that guy I make videos on, he's like officially lost his mind. Like he's gone insane.
Oh, legendary.
But yeah, so the yeah, what was I gonna say? So the strategy for him is he does largely not use any sources written after the year 1960. That's his strategy. So he cites a source, but they're all really old and outdated, and of course, have a sort of right-wing bent.
But no, Freda, what do you mean? If a source is academically approved, then it's academically approved. We don't change our opinions on particular subjects, particular topics through history.
The funny thing about like why he does that though is that like he believes that academia was taken over by the Frankfurt School. So like he's trying to use the untainted
Jesus
history
Christ.
from before. Yeah, all history was written by Jewish communists, is what a lot of these people say. So he that's his strategy, and I think even Zoomer Historian, who like seems like really overt, is still
believer,
using a
yeah.
strategy. Yeah, he's got a plan when he does this. He kind of skirts around very important things and doesn't mention things that are worth mentioning, and kind of just says like he asserts facts but doesn't assert them in context. So for example, he's talking about like how he has, I think I think it's a 50-minute video or something about how Hitler was trying to sue for peace, and like Hitler's peace offers is its name. The video ends in 1941, I think. That's the last peace offer, and the reason it ends in 1941 is because he's literally just plagiarizing a book written by a guy from the Nazi Foreign Ministry, which is also about Hitler's peace offers, which was written as like a piece of propaganda for a foreign audience, and it evidently worked. And like when he's doing that, he's not talking about the fact that like, yeah, maybe Hitler was suing for peace because Hitler was in a war he wasn't going to win, you know? Maybe he had already occupied the countries he wanted to occupy, and trying to grasp for more was problematic. Maybe he was getting his shit kicked in.
Yeah. Like every fucking country that tells its domestic population, I really don't want this war, but we are forced into this war.
Yeah. It's and also like maybe he's getting his shit kicked in by the Soviets, and therefore maybe he doesn't want to fight the British and the Americans anymore, or whatever. Like, or not the Americans at this point, but the British anymore. So yes, it's like that is his strategy. All of them have a strategy. All of them have a thing you can find out, or you can notice where they're trying to trick you or trying to get stuff by you.
Very interesting.
And it's always different, usually.
Yeah, and that makes it so difficult for any sort of content moderation, which leads me to the next question, especially like peak, in my opinion, is historical content, historical educational content. So do you think, like, this is a heavy-handed question, but I'll still ask it. Do you think it will ever be possible to somehow content manage history coverage on YouTube? Because right now, like, Jesus Christ, the state of YouTube is a fucking mess.
Yeah, dreadful. I think the only way you could do so is if you had a very different style of managing YouTube, I think. Because and it's a style that would not sit well in our current political climate. Like you cannot have a sort of quote unquote free marketplace of ideas that is also profit motivated, and people are like grinding and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And also expect good moderation that doesn't get like severely impacted by this profit motive. So because of that, YouTube, like its moderation, isn't about like dealing with harmful ideas or whatever the fuck. It's about making sure YouTube doesn't get sued or get in financial trouble. Yeah. Or the advertisers jump ship, right?
Yeah.
Like they don't want to have what happened to Twitter happen to them.
Yeah. But
isn't
it interesting? Like, I think somebody eventually will have to pay for the lunch, because it's definitely not free. What do I mean by this? Remember the you're an unk like me, massive ad scare, they literally called it the adpocalypse back when PewDiePie, said the N-word. So advertisers were like, we need a better system to check where ads are playing, because they might be playing over bigoted content, and we don't want our brand to be associated with this.
Yeah, this led to like the system we have now with like where you self-check or they check and that kind of stuff.
Exactly. So do you think that there's a possibility at some point that either somebody makes a video that pops off so much, or a journalist makes a very big like research paper on just
Yeah.
how much insanely reactionary monetized content exists on YouTube, and that kind of completely opens the floodgates because advertisers start seeing it and they start calling up YouTube, and then they eventually have to do something because, as you beautifully put, this is a for-profit organization, and the only time they're going to do anything about, in this case, content moderation is when something
profit is
potentially
threatened.
threatens the profit.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely correct. Like I think it is the only way it's going to happen, if it's going to happen, right? And if it happens, I don't know, like, what is the solution? Are we going to, like, because I know that YouTube, when they talk about like, let's say you talk about COVID-19,
Yeah.
then you get this like little blurb below that
Yeah.
links you to sources and stuff, and nobody clicks it. I don't think, like, at least nobody who is
Good
like a
point,
COVID
yeah,
or vaccine skeptic clicks that shit. Anyways, you get these like fact checking things that largely do not work. So like, are you gonna do that as like a solution? Are you gonna have like the fact checkers in the description saying like Adolf Hitler was a brutal fascist dictator who led this genocide of multiple peoples, and
Or you go
yeah.
absolutely, or you go a much more radical way, which then fucks absolutely everybody else, and the reactionary is the least to an extent, which is
Yeah.
you just ban political content. Like, to an extent, what happened on Twitch? You talk about politics, no ads. Like, you live
Yeah.
off of subscribers, right? Which are monetized on Twitch, right? So YouTube could do the same thing, which would be insane.
Would very much benefit everyone who loves the current status quo, and
course.
not benefit or like the dominant culture and all that stuff, like, and would benefit or would not benefit like anyone who sort of wants to speak against injustice, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, because they'll
So, like,
definitely
yes,
let
it's-
CNN and BBC and Fox News stay, because that would
Oh,
not
yeah.
be political content. That would be journalistic news coverage or some whatever
Yes,
the
yeah.
fuck that means. Yeah.
Yeah, there's like a funny center left like a funny tangent, but it's related. A center left podcast in Norway. Or like, it's a media company, but they do a podcast. They started like trying to do like the only left-wing podcast in the Norwegian language, basically.
Oh wow, the only one.
yeah,
That's
so-
crazy.
Yeah, because like, I mean, the right-wingers will say that our state broadcasting is left-wing. It isn't, but it's
Yeah.
it's status quo basically. But
But Americans told me you guys live in socialism. What do you mean? There's no leftist podcast?
yeah.
Okay.
Oh, it's so June and asked. It's Mimir og Marstal from Manifest Media or Manifest Media, but it's not like actually like communists and stuff. They're like
Still, it's good. It's
parliament.
something. Yeah.
Yeah, one of them is like, they're like center left. Like, one of them is literally like a representative in parliament. But the point I was going to make is that like, the government gives a lot of like funding to various media companies and podcasting and stuff, and one of those is called document.no, and that was cited by that's the favorite news site of the terroristic mass shooter who committed the
Holy
2011
shit.
attacks in Norway. Yeah, and that one gets media support still. 2.7 million or something a year, like
What?
Norwegian crowns. Yeah, Norwegian crowns, granted, not
Still, no,
dollars.
Holy
So yeah,
shit.
but Manifest Media doesn't get any, because Manifest Media is considered not journalism, but it's considered like entertainment or edutainment.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, it's like the fact that like you can kind of leverage this journalistic position and be like, I am apolitical, I am factual, therefore you get the authority and the benefits.
Absolutely.
Whereas these people who are honest about their position then get punished for it, because obviously they are a little bit less slimy.
Yeah.
Same thing as the historians who are overt about their politics, and the historians who claim to be apolitical.
100.
Yeah.
100. It's always when you're talking about class, when you're talking about a general, even it doesn't even have to be Marxian, a general materialist analysis of why certain things go in the direction that they go in. It is immediately political, it is immediately ideological, it is immediately non-educational, because it lacks bias that absolutely everyone has, as we've covered in the beginning of our conversation today, and it's a constant
Yeah.
struggle because it's quite literally. Everything the joke is like left-wing speech is very politicized. I like to say everything else has been depoliticized, not that it has actually
Yes.
been removed from politic. It simply has in the ideological depiction of it been removed from politics.
Yeah.
But to not take, already, thank you so much. We've been talking for, it passed in like a second for me. We've been talking for, holy shit.
Yeah, how long?
2 hours?
Oh shit!
What the fuck?
Yeah.
So let's slowly. It is still a Sunday. I want you to enjoy it and not spend it with a masked guy from the Balkans screaming about communism.
No, that's like that sounds like a perfect Sunday to me. But yeah, go on.
Absolutely. Though, who the fuck are you to say? For 2 hours, I've been looking at a pixelated face, my friend.
Yeah, true.
Which tell us you told me it's a very interesting story about how you picked the.
I mean, I don't know. It's like how interesting, because it is related to Dwarf Fortress, my favorite video game, that many people like know it from as well. It's like an old ASCII character that was added to like an IBM PC in like 1983 or something, because the PC had so much memory, they had space for extra characters beyond the actual alphabet. So they just added a bunch of weird characters that they could use to code little silly games that these computer scientist nerds were making in their lab. And eventually it was used to represent these little dwarves in Dwarf Fortress in like 2006 when Tarn Adams released that game. And that game, by the way, is fucking nuts. That's a game that wants to simulate everything, and when they tried to simulate not necessarily fully capitalism, but they tried to simulate something akin to capitalism, the game just broke, and he said, it doesn't work, we can't have it, and took it out.
Wow.
Yeah. There was a problem in the game where all the money ended up eventually in the hands of one dwarf.
Of course,
and things just didn't work.
Yeah. Holy fuck.
So dwarves just couldn't afford rent, that kind of stuff. There was also a really funny thing where I think like your wealth. So if a dwarf is born, their wealth is based on the wealth of their parents, because that dwarf hasn't started working and earning money yet, so it needed money. So they would take money from the parents. And so if you are born, to parents that don't have any money, you immediately are a homeless baby. And if you are born to parents that have a lot of money, you immediately, of course, have like an account with a fuck ton of money. You are, CEO baby. Yeah, boss
You're
baby.
CEO baby, boss baby.
Yes.
Dwarf boss baby, tiny boss baby.
It was so funny. Yeah. Like that game is fucking nuts. It's got all these
I might
systems
actually
that
try it. Holy shit.
It's like, yeah, it's on Steam now. It has graphics now. It didn't used to have graphics. It used to look like my avatar.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Tell Freda to tell you about mermaid bones and drunk cats and bridge particle smashers.
So I don't know about the mermaid bones. Well, actually, no, I do know about the mermaid bones. Sorry.
Is that like mermaid cock? Like do you call it the mermaid bone?
No, it's actually a lot more grim than that. It's not sex related. It's actually like death camp for profit related stuff.
What the?
Because apparently, I think mermaids. So every creature that dies in the game. People are farming mermaids for their bones, because mermaids are sentient creatures in that world. And every creature, when they die, they have bones, and you can create things out of those bones, or you can sell them. So the mermaid bones were highly priced, and therefore people created mermaid farms and, sold the bones. There's also the drunk cats, which was a feature that was not intended, where they added taverns to the game. And with that come drunk dwarves dancing, partying. They spill beer. The way that cats clean themselves is they lick themselves, right?
Yeah.
So if they step in the beer, then they get this beer on their coat. They lick themselves, which in the game terms means it goes on their tongue, goes into their mouth. It's consumed. The cat's simulated liver can't handle the alcohol level of dwarven beer. So a bunch of cats were just dying of alcohol poisoning. And the developer couldn't figure out why.
Now that is a great game engine. Holy shit. It's
yes,
that
and
intricate.
then there's also...
I did not know
it's fucking weird. Yeah, I also had another bug with like vampires. You have dwarves who can secretly be a vampire. They can see through walls and stuff. When they see through walls, if they see something scary, they try to get away from the scary thing. Now, he hadn't really set any limit to how far they could see, so they could just see straight down into fucking hell. So he would have dwarves just climb into the tallest tree and get as far away from the core of the earth as possible. Because they could see what was down there.
They were like, get it
And he was
away
like,
from me. What
yeah, he saw all these dwarves just climbing up and then dying of thirst up in the tree, and he was like, "What's happening?" And then turns out they were
Terrified.
vampires. Yeah,
Terrified
yeah.
vampire dwarves that can see into hell, so they climb up trees to be as distant
and then
from
the
hell
final
as possible.
particle smasher. In the game, when a object is below a bridge that is lowered onto the ground, the game has no fucking idea what it's going to do with the object. So the object just gets deleted from existence. So
Wow.
if you want to deal with trash, you just put a bridge, lower it onto the ground,
Boom.
object gets deleted. If you want to get rid of a person who's annoying, put him under the bridge, lower it down, gone.
Just gone.
Literally,
Not even
yeah,
dead, but like
atomized.
removed from existence. Yeah.
Atomized.
Oh, fucking crazy. You know
Yep.
your logo, like in retrospect, really looks like a lot of the art that's done for Black Mirror. Now that I've been staring at it.
Really?
Yeah. They do the very specific pixelated. And there was actually an episode, I'm not going to spoil it, it was very mid. The whole season was interesting, but it was mid. Where basically, like the Dwarf game, but less sophisticated when it comes to game mechanics, but much more sophisticated when it comes to the coded creatures of the game having self-perception and like being, actual creatures. Where the story takes a very, very interesting direction with the one guy that was basically feeding them the whole time. But they could have gone in more interesting stuff, at least when it comes to their life inside of the computer. Even though then they talk, I'm not going to bore you with that. But associates with the Black Mirror to an extent, which is cool for potential, guys who aren't really nerds but call themselves nerds type of audience that might be
they see this and they're like, oh shit, yeah,
it's absolutely. So to round off finally after the conversation about the dwarves, but wait, no, sorry, now I'm too interested in the dwarves. So the game basically has its own ecosystem, its own kind of the way physics works, the way chemistry works, the way money works, the way everything works. And then you just create that world and you fuck around in the world and see how it reacts to you. But what are you?
There's
are you
two
like
ways to
you're a god or you're one
one
dwarf?
So 2 ways to play it. You can play it as one dwarf or like one creature going around in what's called adventure mode. That was just added to the Steam version. It's been a thing in like the free version for a while. And then you can also play fortress mode, where you run a fortress. It's kind of like RimWorld, like a colony simulator. RimWorld is based on Dwarf Fortress, if you've played it. And it's like a management sort of base management thing where the dwarves do crazy things. Though I do gotta warn you, that game is like, it is obtuse to get into. You have to kind of I think I started playing it as like kid kind of. Well, I think I was like a teenager, but I would play it a little bit. I would be like, I don't get it. And then I would try again a month later. We learn a little bit more, a little bit more. And now, let me see, let me do some quick maths here. And by that, I mean, open up my calculator. 2025 minus 2006. So now 19 years after the game first released, I still have not fully understood the game.
That is fascinating. I love finding niche things that are so interesting, so that to such an extent that it baffles me that I haven't heard about them before.
This one still baffles me when I play it again and again, which is what appeals to me.
Very cool. Very cool. I like you.
Yeah.
Cool. So to round off, let's talk about the good guys versus bad guys historical narrative. To make it as controversial and interesting as possible for chat, let's take Nazi Germany. So how do you, this is a question I'm literally asking for myself, honestly, but I think chat might find it interesting. How do you navigate inherent human empathy towards, conscript Hans and the unspeakable evil Hans served under? How do historians, especially the dialectical type like yourself, thread this fine line between individual and regime, between empire and foot soldier? I struggle with it myself sometimes, not in the case of Nazi Germany, but I think you get my point. So yes, how does one thread the fine line between how we see empire and how we see their meat bags?
So, for me, I think I do a little bit of this in the Zoomer historian video, because he is very empathetic towards like SS soldiers and that kind of stuff. And I also in the video discuss the firebombing of Dresden.
Yeah.
Now, like a lot of us, for very understandable reasons, on the left, like especially online, when we talk about like, you know, Dresden, we start talking about like, you know, how they should have bombed it again or that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like people say that kind of stuff, but it's like, at the same time, there's like reasons why we don't have to say that. We can be like, yeah, fuck yeah, they killed a bunch of German soldiers, but also be like, it was still unfortunate that like a couple of like a bunch of kids who had nothing to do with that died.
Yeah.
And of course, you know, then we can look at those individual kids who became bastards, or who survived who became bastards, and then say like maybe that kid should have died. But like, you know, like you kind of have to like look at each individual case with this stuff.
Yeah.
Like I don't think like I can have some empathy towards certain people in Nazi Germany, or many people in Nazi Germany, but like conscripted Hans. The reason I struggle with like empathy towards conscripted Hans is that he probably, because of just the nature of the conflict, also depending on where he served, but like let's say he served on the Eastern Front, then odds are he participated willingly in atrocities. And because of that, like that fact, it's kind of hard to empathize with, you know, his suffering on the Eastern Front while he was invading a different country, when he was probably committing war crimes.
Absolutely.
Or like atrocities rather. And I think it's something like either, like if you were in the Wehrmacht, I forget the exact number and quote, but I think, and I forget where it's from, but either you yourself participated in an atrocity or you knew someone firsthand who did. So like odds are very great that you did something really bad in the Wehrmacht, even if you were a conscript. And the actual challenging part is like he was sort of forced into this reality. Like he was born in this country, which he didn't create, and all this stuff. Society around him molded him, right?
Yeah.
But you still have to like confront him as he is, as a person, even if he was just very unfortunate that his spawn point was in Nazi Germany, you know?
Couldn't agree more. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
But I do want to say that like historians, when they do this, they tend to like be very like they tend to be judgmental towards like the Nazi regime, towards like figures who they can point to having done terrible things. Even like historians writing about the bombing of Dresden, they judge some of the people in the sort of bomber crews, not because they dropped the bombs, that was what they were doing, that, you know, it was war, but they judge an impromptu decision, and I talk about this in the video, an impromptu decision made to drop bombs in a different part from where the first wave had dropped their bombs. Originally, the plan was for both waves of bombers, British bombers, who were bombing at night, to drop on the same spot. The first wave did that. It was so effective. The second wave came in, and they, you know, the commander was like, actually, if we drop them here, it's not going to do more damage. We need to drop them somewhere else. So they just made a decision to drop somewhere else. That somewhere else part of the city had no real military value. And that was just like an impromptu decision made on the spot, because it would be a waste of the trip, the waste of the bombs.
Yeah.
They could have aimed for the barracks where the Nazi soldiers were, if they had, you know, known to do so, but they couldn't because it was nighttime.
Yeah.
So like instead they just bombed a bunch of civilian houses where people had run to after the other part had been bombed. So it's like you gotta judge everyone for who they are at the time, I think. And I think that's also when I talk about like these like ways in which history is political. That's a feature, not a bug. That we are still ourselves. We're still people, and we're still reading about these people doing terrible things, and we need to sort of acknowledge that and think of them as the people they are, and not mince words, and say that some people are pieces of shit and some people are better. You know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that is a brilliant point to cut off today's
Yep.
conversation. Freda, please tell the 900 people here where they can find you. In the fucking
Yes.
pinned linked fucking chatters.
Yes, as Yugopnik so eloquently said in the fucking pinned link, yeah, right above. That's where my YouTube is. I make videos, as you probably can tell by now. I make videos about history, as you might also be able to tell. And I sometimes,
brilliant.
yeah, thank you. And I sometimes shit on Nazis and other Nazi adjacent people.
Phenomenal. Everyone.
And yeah, my Discord is also in the description of the video, because Iskality asked.
Fantastic. So Discord is in description of the videos on.
Yeah, you can find
on
everything
Freder's
there. My
channel.
Twitter, everything.
And the Twitter.
Yeah.
All the socials, go follow everything, etc., etc.
Thank
And
you.
Freda, as they said in Casablanca, I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
Yes, I think so too.
Genuinely, I really enjoyed this. Sorry that it.
No, yeah, this has been
2
a lot of
hours
fucking
and
fun.
15 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for taking.
Dude, I
your
need to
time.
piss.
You have like 3 children waiting. Fucking Dad, can we have some
My
food?
my 3.5 children, like
3.5.
yeah.
XYZ. But
Yep.
yes, thank you very much for coming on. I'm sure we'll do this again. And I was serious about
Yeah, I'd love
potentially
to.
doing some sort of show together. I'll text you. 'Cause
Yeah, text
I
me,
think
text
the
me.
back and forth was interesting. And
Yeah, this has been like a lot of fun. It genuinely felt like it's so smooth. Like I've never really done anything like this live. Like this makes me want to do it more.
Fuck yeah, fuck yeah, fuck yeah,
Yeah.
fuck yeah. Thank you. That's a great compliment because this was the first Yugopnik live podcast, the most original podcast in the world, because it's a podcast that's done live. That's the premise. Thank you very much, Freda. You will remain in
Thank
the
you.
annals of history as my first and
That's
most
where I wanna be, yep.
important. Yes, in my annals, you're always